Oh, hello, and welcome to Adente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Adam.
Oh, and I'm Jeremy.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy, most pasta, and today, most Appalachian.
Mm-hmm.
For tonight, we bring you The Fog That Fell Over Morehead. So, yeah, this one popped up on my Reddit app randomly, like I think last week or something like that. And I almost like spit taked when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read like the first couple of lines in it, because I was like, wait, the Morehead, like
Yep.
Kentucky, the one that I based an entire game campaign off of, and like I've the place I visited when I went to go visit Adam from RPX. So it felt only right to invite Adam from the Role Playing Exchange and also
That other guy.
our other friend Jeremy from the area, from the greater like Appalachian area, I guess.
That other guy.
Yeah. that other American sounding guy. To review a creepypasta based off of this town that we are all familiar with in various degrees. So it's on not Reddit No Sleep, not like creepypasta.wiki, it's on Reddit Scary Stories. And it's by Stygian Saga.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose before we get too far ahead, I would like to us to give our initial recommendations. I'm going to recommend it.
I thought it was fun. It was sufficiently creepy. I'll recommend it.
It does certain things right, and then there's other things that I'll talk about later on that I found a bit cumbersome. But at the end of the day, I think I didn't regret spending 10 minutes reading it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then I guess we'll continue on and see if our opinion changes over the course of our discussion here today. But we'll start with the rundown. So Nair, because there's no name to the narrator aside from, I guess, maybe Stygian Saga themselves, but usually it's just another character. Nair is recounting this strange encounter in his old stomping grounds in Kentucky that he refuses to ever return to. One summer evening, he was coming back to his estranged hometown of Morehead to help a friend, Joseph, move off campus. As he pulled off the interstate, he found the town and surrounding valleys choked with a deep fog, and the town itself devoid of life and lights. It also seemed like the town had been abandoned for quite some time. With no reception from his cell either, he headed to the university area where the only light was from the duplex that his friend lived in. Sure enough, the only person Nair found was Joseph, though he was in a haggard state, and after a strange bellowing deer call that swept in from the southern hills, they got in the car and tried to flee. Joseph said that the fog had rolled in some time ago, and things out of the night had come and taken folks. This seemed odd because Nair had talked to Joseph not 4 hours prior, when it seemed almost like it had been like years had passed for Joseph and the town.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph tried to lead Nair to a way out, some mountain lumber road, but Nair noticed a strangeness in Joseph and felt something was off about the route they were taking. That's when Joseph vanished from the car, and strange tree things, mobile stick creatures, possibly former residents of the town, descended upon Nair's car as he struggled to race away. Nair did make it back to the interstate and safely, but not before seeing a gigantic tree thing on the southern ridge of town waving at him. Waving at him. Despite this madness, he received various texts from Joseph as though nothing was the matter. But Nair continued on away from Morehead and never looked back, even though he would continue to receive messages and calls from friends and family in the region thereafter. Why? Because when Nair stopped at a gas station far away from Morehead that night, he found evidence that it had not just been some strange hallucination or half dream he had had while driving through the mountains. There were claw marks like those from the attacking stick folk that were gouged out of the top of his car. Finn.
As a resident of Kentucky and a man born in Morehead, and someone who lives 30 minutes from Morehead right now, I'll go for distance, not mileage, or you know what I mean, time. And from somebody who graduated from the university, there were certain parts of it, it seemed for me almost like a love letter. I would like to read just a small passage, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
All right. So you get the impression he's driving in from the interstate and all, and then he gets off I-64, and he's driving toward the university, which is the route that I would have taken you when we drove by Lee's and all that, like going downtown to the bookstore and all.
Yeah.
So the road ran through a craggy pass, blasted in the mountainside. I can see that. They started doing that stuff when I went to college there 20 years ago. It's on the left-hand side of the road. Arching past steep wooded inclines and sheer barren rock, all obscured by the vapor which hung in the air. I thought of Joseph, waiting in the town for me, recalling nights spent wandering the hills for a quiet place to drink or smoke in the trees. Tense as the drive has been, this familiarity of the terrain put me at ease. A navigator treading a path I'd trodden, 1,000 times before. It was only as I crested the craggy, veiled hilltop and looked down on the town in that valley beyond that my anxiety sung once more. Now, I am a little bit lost of where he was at one point because I think I know the area that he's talking to, but I mean that seems like a fond remembrance, and in all certainty, from everything that's relayed through this, I can verify that like the road names that he mentioned Christie Creek. It always floods, by the way. He mentions the tower on the university. I feel confident to say that this person is from here.
Yeah. Honestly, this was you just quoted the same thing I had written down. I had quoted copied over from my notes. Because I was literally going to go in with that of like, as somebody who's visited Morehead and the surrounding area a couple of times now, and I was even going to and Adam, you can agree or attest to this.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like this story really catches the feel and the look of the area, if in so much just the description and like the vibe, and then like even the darker lens aside of like the fact that this is a creepy story or like a horror story. There's another there's a little bit further on the quote that you referenced was this Morehead was large for a rural community, a brief blip of urbanity in a sea of dark woodland. The hospital, Main Street, and university campus sprawled down the incline of the valley, the single distant residential tower looming dark and menacing through the haze like a brutalist concrete watchman. I love that.
That is great.
And it feel like as somebody who's I visited I visited Morehead and like your neck of the woods like 2 or 3 times now at this point. Yeah. And like I feel like I'm like I can see like I can visualize exactly what he's describing here.
And he hints really well. Let's just finish that paragraph off. The university made it a seasonal city. Its population swelling by thousands as students flooded overpriced apartments. This is where the personal opinion, which granted they probably are, overpriced apartments in the autumn, only to contract once more in summer. While I'd expected a muggy summer evening to be quiet, a void of wandering students that haunted the winter, the stead, which is an awkward phrasing, quite shadow of the valley gave me pause. So let's go ahead and put this out here. Like, I like certain descriptions. At other times, I have doubts. Like, um, I feel like an effort was being made to use $200 words that
Yeah.
kind of belied the story. It's like Lovecraft sitting there
Yeah, the
talking about
purple prose.
cyclopean
Yeah.
vistas into madness. I think it's got very much from the Lovecraft school of writing.
Yeah.
It kind of
And
had
that's
that
kind of
Tolkienish where it's like I'm going to spend
Mhm.
10 minutes describing the grain on this chair and this table.
yeah.
And then 5 seconds on a battle.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah. Honestly, like, yeah, like I do like, again, there's later in the story we kind of get like some dissenting opinion of the from the university staff, perhaps, of like the town itself. And it's like that could also be chalked up as like, oh, like this could either be like just like the character, like the person like writing this as like a horror thing, more in a horror perspective and stuff like that. So like showing kind of an imperfect part, like imperfect part of reality. Or it could even be like maybe they had a bad experience at the at the campus when if they did indeed come, like maybe they had maybe this is like their own like kind of personal view, like bleeding in from like when they were, if they were from the area and actually went to this college.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was reading it, it kind of sounded like sour grapes to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I got a question here because like it's not in my grammar inquisition, but is stayed, like the way he says stayed, or like staid, is that a word?
It is, but it's not commonly used. It's just
I'm not familiar with it, so yeah.
yeah. It's just it's
I did
complete.
too. I just assumed that he spelled it wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it. I'm trying to think of an example of it.
If only I
It's
had Google.
I know.
I just googled it right now,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it just means like it's sedate, respectable, adventurous. I mean, I could go with Oxford English Dictionary language and all that, but like sometimes we pronounce it as stead, and maybe that's what is like. So I think it depends on how you pronounce it. You may have heard this beforehand as stead instead of
Yeah.
stayed.
Yeah. And like you're saying, like, yeah, this is very much purple prose. Like he's using 10-cent words to describe things, much like how Lovecraft would have done. And this feels very much like a Lovecraftian tale. Like I could see this. We'll get into it a little bit more with my actual thoughts. Like this felt very much like a Lovecraft story, or even like something out of Old Gods of Appalachia.
Or
to a degree.
Ravenloft if you're into D&D.
Yeah, or Ravenloft.
Or even Silent Hill if with the fog. And the,
you guys are just naming off things from my notes.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But before we get too far ahead, I do want to bring up the one grammar inquisition thing I have. Hang on. Everyone expects the grammar inquisitions. There, I said it. Though I had no reason to feel directly threatened, I felt more and more as if I had stumbled upon some empty film set in the mountains, a moldering Potemkin village I was not meant to explore. And I was like, who or what the heck are Potemkin? And so I looked it up, and like, thanks to Wikipedia, a construction, literal or figurative, whose purpose is to provide an external facade to a situation, to make people believe that the situation is better than it actually is. The term comes from the stories of a fake portable village built by Grigory Potemkin, a field marshal and former lover of Empress Catherine II, solely to impress the Empress during her journey to Crimea in 1787. And that's a direct quote from the Wikipedia article on Potemkin structures. So basically, but it gets across the like the situation there is like, yeah, it's like a Potemkin village, like it's trying to like show a facade of normalcy, but like really you're easily seeing like the like that something is amiss here. Yeah.
My theory is this man is an English major, and he figured out halfway through that you can't, unless you have English tied with something else, like you're going to law school or education. It's a worthless degree. But my grammar inquisition in paragraph 3, the road was craggy, etc., etc. My anxiety sung once more. Well, I think that could be forgiven if it was part of local color, because we will switch up verb tense for like, sing, sang, sung and stuff like that. But it should have been sang. let's see, what else? And there was a part in paragraph 5 where he talked about the other cars. No, wait, no, that's fine.
That's
Honestly, if I were going to complain, there's that. I do want to give him a good grammar point and a bad one, but just kind of a minor style thing. When he talks about getting scared, he says, "Every hair on my body stood on end." And I mean, it's grammatically correct, but if you're using idioms, and idioms are, they're it may be subjected to the regions and stuff like that. Like if he said every hair on my head stood up, or the hair on my arm, or an arm, yes,
yeah.
But he did do something cool when talking about Joseph, seeing Joseph for the first time, and I mean, he could have said that he was pale or ashen, which would have been something more conventional, but he kind of, and maybe it's a little bit tip of the hand, but I liked it. He called him pallor stricken, so like that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll my other complaint about about something else. It's going to come up when he goes on his diatribe about the university, but I'll save that for them.
We'll get that. That'll get into the actual thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, do you have anything for grammar, Queen Inquisition? Or...
Nah, man, I'm good.
All right, we'll take the torches and pitchforks down for a second.
Just
for a moment. They're on standby. Yeah. I really was excited to do this because I wanted to see what, like, as somebody who lives in this area, like this is basically like a horror story somebody's written about your hometown. So I've been really curious about that. So, but so my next, so we're into actual thoughts now, and my first, or I guess my next one for that would be this quote here. When I hit the first intersection and realized the traffic lights were dead, the uncanny stillness grew too great for me to tolerate, and I turned off the road into the misty lot of a gas station. There were several cars alongside me in the lot, but they all seemed old and weathered. The station was dark, and no movement caught my eye through the grungy windows. As I took up my phone from the empty passenger's seat, I noted how cruel the past few years must have been to Morehead. And to this, I was just like, so Morehead has become Silent Hill? Much like what Jeremy... Yeah. So, and then I started thinking, because like this was about the point where I was like, we had just recently, in like the last year or so, I'd run a Dresden Files campaign for the Role-Playing Exchange set in Morehead. Where I threw a lot of inspiration from and direct references to another creepypasta series and setting, Icker Falls, which is a nearby fictional West Virginia town, basically like an hour or two north of, or like north and into West Virginia from Morehead.
Not north, but yeah,
northwest or northeast.
It's east.
Yeah. East. Is it just east? Is it okay?
I think I'd say it's more southeast, really. But
okay. Anyway,
it's on that eastern side of the map.
It's close enough that I was able to actually like incorporate elements of it for this Kentucky town. And I threw a lot of stuff into Morehead in that game, but honestly, given that like the fog choked nature of Icker Falls as well, I'm surprised I didn't include like a lot of creepy fog shit into Morehead in our game. That might be something I'll have to rectify in a season 2 for our Morehead Mysteries campaign. But
I want to recant. It's slightly northeast, slightly northeast. Yeah. I was thinking if you went south, you're going to be in Virginia instead of West Virginia. So yeah, and it's an hour away.
Yeah, is it only an hour? I thought it was at least 2 hours. Okay, yeah.
Well, when you're going back home, it's uphill, so it feels like 2 hours, but it's 6 miles in American numbers.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I got for that part. The next one here is about the phone, actually, but again, more about his cell signal and such. The phone was useless, though. Void of any signal. This was, I reflected, the only time I'd ever lacked a connection in Morehead, regardless of the weather. I tried to call, as if my stubborn insistence would summon up cell service. It didn't. I mean, clearly he had to tell us plan. They don't take too kindly to Bell or Telus in those parts. Let me assure you.
AT&T, man.
Yeah.
Or
I just remember my
Appalachian
own
Wireless.
personal comeuppance when it came to using my cell phone down in the States.
And the man belies his age on that because, or I said man, we don't know the gender, but there's like for a long time, it was like shitty service up there because it's mountains and trees and nothing else. When I was in college in the early 2000s up there, it wouldn't be anything to be just driving from one end of town to the other and lose service. And even then, you're not, if you go up there right now, you may be 3 bars or something like that. So,
Damn.
but obviously he's younger than 45.
Yeah. And just for context, this story looks like it was posted in it was posted 5 years ago.
2020, and that's going to come up here pretty soon too.
Oh yeah,
our Lord.
Yeah. So yeah, my next quote here is: the whole atmosphere of the valley was off, and I could no longer convince myself that it was my own hang-ups keeping me flustered. That lone porch light was the worst of it, a glinting bauble upon an empty sea of drifting vapor. Even as I scanned my surroundings and found them once more void of life, a single word came to the fore of my mind: trap.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Going home.
It's like, nope.
Yeah, because first
NOPE.
I don't know, the first thought I had on that was kind of neat because it did remind me of basically kind of like a Ravenloft setting where that's basically an anglerfish.
Dude, we're on like the same fucking wavelength. That's my literally my comment about this is like game fodder idea. The town of Morehead has become a dread domain to some dark lord.
Mm-hmm.
Like this could and then again, like this could my other part of this, like this could be either a sequel to the aforementioned Dresden game I ran, or a different game scenario or campaign idea entirely. Just using like Ravenloft perhaps, or like our, because we also have another campaign that I've run for One Less Die, the sister podcast of Eldenta Rigor Mortis, where I ran a Vossen Vossen system, but we used Ravenloft as the setting, and we had a lot of kind of nods to Kentucky with a couple of our characters had like connections there, and so yeah, no, again, this could like what happens if like a dread domain takes over a part of like Eastern Kentucky. What would that look like as like a dread domain? So
the direction you guys are going is great, and I do see the connection with like Ravenloft. But I know we're going to talk about game fodder later on, but this also kind of reminds me of I never read the short story, but I watched the film of The Mist by Stephen King.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I needed a hug after that movie.
Yeah, that was
that was so nihilistic.
That was a refreshingly bleak Hollywood ending.
Yeah, The Mist and The Road were 2 movies that I needed a hug afterwards.
Yeah.
And Rubber, but it just sucked. But
just because I was sad.
I'm gonna be on my deathbed going, why did I waste an hour and a half of that movie watching that movie? So, like geographically speaking, I think that he was coming. I get the impression that he is traveling from. I don't know if he is coming from like Lexington down or Ashland up.
I think he was, because he references he came from Olive Hill.
Okay, so he's coming from Ashland then.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And for the audience at home, you can check like Google image or Google Map, and you can kind of get a sense of like where this is, with these names that these location names we're dropping. So I hope you're okay with that, Adam.
No, dude. I mean, everything that you kind of and you're talking about a subject that is basically my backyard. Yeah. But like everything that you say here, I think your appreciation of the region and the area and everything in general about this is like from a good place of like respect, and so yeah, we're good.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Olive Hill. I broke my tailbone there. It was great. I jumped off a cliff, Jeremy. It was 60 foot into the
Oh,
lake.
into a quarry lake.
Well, it's just a natural lake, but
Oh.
I landed wrong, broke my tailbone. So I recommend y'all don't do that if you
What
go
did
to
you
Olive
land
Hill.
on?
Water
All
from
right.
60 feet.
It hit terminal velocity, but it wasn't
Yeah.
quite enough to kill.
Now please keep this in here, and I hope that I'm not putting on airs here, but this conversation about home and all that. It's just like I've code switched back to my home dialect, but like my wife, who's all sciencey and stuff, like for lack of a better term, she was a biology major and stuff like that. She figured out the velocity, how fast I was going, Jeremy, and it was roughly 35 miles an hour when my ass hit that water.
I'd believe it
God.
because it's like hitting concrete at that point.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was trying to toothpick it, and then I freaked out because I was falling. You ever fell long enough to scream and then regret your decision, and not like you have that time between
Yeah.
that last step and that plunge?
You go through
Yeah.
all the stages of grief,
Yeah.
and then you accept at the end before you hit the ground.
I
You just
remember sitting at the bottom of the lake looking up. It wasn't at the bottom, or I'd been dead, probably broke my legs, but I could see the water up above. I mean, the light above me. I was like, I'm gonna die.
it's like I regret everything right now.
But anyway, guys, back to your creepypasta story. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like again, like this creepypasta does touch a little close to home for one of us, so
Mhm.
it's fun. So yeah, my next thing here, the next quote I have is even now removed from the frenzied rush of that nervous night, I can't shake the feeling that the pupils were elongated. And this is in regards to Joseph,
Yeah.
who's in the car next to him, and that's when he starts noticing something's off about Joseph, aside from like his pallor complexion. For 1/10 span of a second, scored by another wheezing snort from the unseen caller in the trees, I saw goatish oblong pupils glaring back. Time seemed to freeze. I had the clarity to retrace my steps, to picture that lone porch light in a sea of dark decay. I'd been so desperate for company in that foreboding town, so relieved to see a familiar face. Too relieved. And like, so I'm reading this, and it's like, this is kind of giving me like mimic vibes, like the Appalachian stories that you see online that are kind of very popular right now. Is like the forest mimics, or like even like the not deer kind of stuff. And it even has some influence, like to me, like for like if I was to paint this under like a mythos, like the Call of Cthulhu mythos sort of brushstrokes. This like it almost feels like there's a little bit of influence of Shub-Niggurath, the black goat in the woods with 1,000 young, the primordial god of nature and the earth. And hell, with like the like the various like the deer calling and some of that, like what is that? Is just like another element of perhaps like Shub-Niggurath, or even something out of like Old Gods of Appalachia, the podcast series that you can check out, where it's all basically like kind of not direct mythos stuff, but like their own kind of like eldritch horrors and supernatural elements using Appalachia and the folklore that's been kind of built up over the years. And then when the tree and stick folk pop out of the ditches and like the fields and like forests around the car, and like how he I think he describes them later as like there's like small ones and big ones. I definitely got this impression that like they were the townsfolk that had been taken in the night, and like perhaps like the influence of this thing, that whatever's bellowing across the town, that giant tree thing, had definitely like turned people into these monsters or these entities.
Could have been.
Yeah, but I also just love the quote I referenced was just like I love the like he was so like it's so Lovecraftian because it's like very like so desperate for companionship in this like lonely place, like that he's also kind of reviles on a personal level because of like past issues, that he was too relieved, like he let his guard down of the from the strangeness and invited something into his car with him.
Yeah, I don't even know if he actually left his car, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And then game fodder wise, again more game fodder stuff. Again, obviously there's an old Gods of Appalachia tabletop RPG now, so you could use that. I feel like this would work for like SO Terrorist, Fear Itself, modern day Call of Cthulhu, or even Delta Green would work for this.
Yeah.
Like just like entering this place and sorry, what?
Urban Shadows or any type of something like that.
Yeah. Oh, hell, again, our Dresden game or like the Dresden File stuff. Because just have some like eldritch thing that's dug up from the earth or something like that, or come out of the woods and is like influencing the town and turning its townsfolk into monsters or entities.
Well, there is a brief second when let me see the porch light. All right. So first off, I think it's weird that he calls him Joseph. Well, everybody I know that has the name Joseph. We don't call him Joseph. We call him Joe.
Joe, Joey, anything other than Joseph.
As an Italian, Joe, we do generally use the full name, but yeah, I get you.
It says, let me see. As my eyes rose, I lurched, startled at the presence of the figure on the porch. When I saw the face, wide-eyed and pale, and a cruel gleam of the headlights. Again, nice imagery.
Like even deer in the headlights almost.
My fears were momentarily overcome with empathy. It was Joseph, stunned, as if I were an apparition from a bad dream. I slid from the car. I'd like to think across the hood of it like the Duke boys, raising a hand in greeting. Unsure what to say, his eyes narrowed, more confused than angry. Why are you here? So it's like there's this, I feel like there's, I don't know, there's like the tape is someone's hit play on the tape deck at this point in time, so to speak. Like the world has been stopped waiting for this one moment. And then this is where all the action, and this is honestly is almost the only dialogue you get till you get into the car and all that.
Yeah. I also really liked how like how brief the conversation was. Is like what's going on? It's like no time, get in the car. It's like yeah, no, that's the natural reaction to the situation you're around. Like get the fuck in the car. We'll explain on the way. And then we get that kind of vibe of like for like Nair here, it had only been like 4 hours since he last talked to Joseph, but then it's kind of got the impression that like either like you said, like either like Joseph was kind of like on pause until like Nair showed up to like as part of a trap almost, or it'd been so long since he had seen anybody, let alone his friend Nair, that like again like to Nair it was 4 hours, to Joe it would have been like months or years since the last time he talked.
Yeah, with the imagery, I felt like it had more of a time dilation issue where it was because it was talking about how things were run down or rusted, and it feels like more things are old as opposed to just locked in time.
Yeah, like the impression you get is like that like this town. While on the outside it's only been 4 hours. Like again, like the town's like atmosphere with all the fog and stuff like that like has like kind of caused that decay of years that comes with like age and stuff like that and neglect.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting though? How'd you make it in? I drove. Came from I-64 as always. Joseph seemed to mull it over, his eyes never leaving the distant hills through the windows. We need to take another way out. Nothing gets out through the pass. Like all this stuff seems to be from somebody who wants to get out of there. That's not like, I don't know. Like, how did you get in? Seemed like a legitimate question. You know what I mean? But it's also like if this was a creature, what is it wanting? Or is it wanting him to try to get him out of there? Yeah. And then there's this weird switch where they want to go off. Joseph tells him to take, basically that sounds like an old gravel road or a logging trail to get out of there. Yeah. And it's obviously fucked.
Yeah. And like he describes it like, oh, we're going through Claresfield, I think it's called. And I actually had to Google map it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's right there. Shit. And I was like, wait, we've driven past like through there, I think. Like to get to Cave Run. And yeah, so that I kind of like again like kind of had like I wonder if like it's one of those roads that we've passed on the like when we drove through there. But yeah, I almost wonder if like perhaps like maybe Joseph wasn't just like some creature in disguise waiting. Maybe he just was. He had just been there so long that he was now starting to become under the influence of the thing, and then once he got into the car and he had chance of escape, once that started like clicking, maybe the thing decided to exert more influence on him, and kind of like forced him. Like even though he was like, "Oh wait, you just left," like we might be able to get out that way, and then like suddenly the thing like no. Bring him to me, kind of thing.
Am I an asshole for pointing out that I think that's the wrong preposition? There's something on the hills, Joseph explained. Shouldn't it be something in the hills? So technically it's not in the hills. Wouldn't you say it like that, or am I just
well, because later we see something on the ridge. Like there's like this giant towering tree monster thing waving to Nair, or like just waving out in the sky. So it isn't in the hill, it's on the hill. So
yeah. 4 hours ago. I think this guy's coming from, like, he said he moved out, though I find it odd. I think this man's probably coming from North or South Carolina, if he went through West Virginia and all that.
Yeah, probably.
Charleston area, no. But is anybody else, before I go on a rant about the narrator?
The only thing I have left is actually I wanted to quote the ending, if that's okay.
No, it's fine. It's your show.
So this is like after he's left and he's like kind of like starting to question what the fuck he just dealt with. Like, did he just like hallucinate a half dream about that while he was like driving through the hills? And then we get this. In the sickly glow of the gas station's overheads, the dull gleam of metal caught my eye. Across the top of the car, in twisted parody of gigantic fingernails, 4 deep gouges had carved their ragged way through the paint. God, I love that ending, because it's just, even the idea of that perhaps he slipped into some half dream haze, or like brought on by like again like the endless driving. Like it's a common thing that happens. Like people lose time when they're driving. They get like road hypnosis. So that and so like and like everything and everything is indeed fine in Morehead and like normal. But because of this nightmare and stuff, like, he never wants to go back to it. And also he definitely seems to have some kind of like misgivings, or like he's sort of like there was some kind of a falling out between him and his community. And yeah, he'll never go back. So there's almost like a kind of a cool tragic perspective on this ending of that like if he like when he left, he's like, I'm not going back because of this weird shit that happened. But then the fact that we have some evidence that was left on his car of that night's encounter that like, no, it was likely real. Something carved at your or something scratched at your vehicle in a way that was like indisputable that something physical happened there. I just really like that. I really appreciate that. Like it leaves it more. Leaves it to lean more toward the idea of like, no, what happened was real.
I always liked when stories. Oh, sorry about that. I always liked stories like that or movies like that where it leaves you at the end where it's like, did that crazy shit actually happen? Like one of the big examples that I have is spoilers for a really old movie at this point, but the movie 1408. Oh
yeah,
where at the end of it, after John Cusack gets out of the hotel and everything else, he finds the little recorder and it starts playing his daughter's voice when he had saw his daughter in the hotel.
So it like proves that like he wasn't just like hallucinating or wasn't just like talking to himself. Yeah.
I love that movie just for that.
Yeah. I like what, again, like I've seen too many stories and like movies and stuff like that where at the end they leave it too ambiguous as to like what was going on, or if the person was just like crazy or had an episode of some kind. And I love when they add that extra doubt, that double doubt of what's going on. Yeah,
this was a classical. There's a hook on the car door handle.
Yes, that's exactly it.
There's a clown on the wing.
There's something on the wing.
There's something on the wing.
William Shatner, Canadian treasure, I'm sure.
The roller. He's a roller coaster.
Look, by the way, he lives in Lexington.
course,
or
it
he
is.
has a
Everything,
horse farm.
all roads lead to Kentucky. I've come to
Yeah.
learn
Right.
this,
In
especially
case
in
you were
horror.
wondering.
Especially in horror, apparently.
Mhm. So there was a bit here I really feel I need to kind of go over here. We mentioned this beforehand that he, like I said beforehand. Let me rephrase that. I'm rattling. Like, dude, everything he's mentioned, I know. Clearfield, Daniel Boone National Forest. In fact, like it stretches up to the property that my family that we own. Like when I go work out on my farm, Google used to like send me messages occasionally, like, "Hey, did you enjoy your trip to Daniel Boone National Forest?" Like, no, motherfucker, I was working. I did not enjoy my trip to the Daniel Boone Forest, but he he goes into some stuff here now. He kind of mentioned the university's brutal stuff here, but I want the design and all that. And dude, I
Which
spent
it is.
yeah.
I've seen it. I didn't. I vaguely remembered it from when we visited or when I visited, and then I Google imaged like the Morehead, Kentucky, the Morehead University like building area, and I was like, oh no, that is definitely a brutalist structure.
Oh yeah. And like the tower it discusses, I have fond memories. Not that I stayed in it or whatnot, but there's a food court at the very bottom of it, and I can remember when me and my wife were in college. I went up for the weekend. Her dorm mate was gone, and I just spent the weekend up there with her in her dorm. And it was snowy. It was cold. We walked from her dorm, which doesn't exist anymore. They tore it down, and went over to Minon and picked up pizza. And then we went back and just for some reason watched Gone with the Wind on VHS cassette, both tapes, eating pizza. And it was just such I don't know, it's a fond memory, but I have some good memories of the place. But here we go. This is where this boy's got an axe to grind. Um, so up toward the top, passing under the shadows of the outermost university buildings, more silhouetted than solid, from formed through the mist. Again, illusion. Nah, I'm reaching on that being the mist. But by the way, there is a space program there, observatory and stuff like that up there. That they have a pretty decent space program for it being in the middle of nowhere. I dismissed my worries rational. It's likely readings in a situation that more reading more in situation than it warranted. Was this not, after all, the town that weighed heavy on my mind? And then here's the axe, the grind. Especially here, in the midst of the university's obscured avenues, I was decidedly not at home. I had quit years ago and headed for trade school, sickened by the sneering elitism that infested even this modest outpost of coastal intellectualism. I still think he's talking about the coast, but I'll continue.
Yeah.
From my first days wandering the grounds, the school had seemed more devoted to spitting upon the community, which rested in its shadows than provoking thought. The contempt the Institute held for the rugged country which surrounded it was soured all the more by the amount of loaned money I had handed the pillagers before fleeing for saner pastures. Shit.
Yeah.
Look at
Okay.
that.
Again, we don't know the author, so like this might just be them like putting in a darker spin on this story for this town, or it might have been like a personal, again, axe to grind. Like maybe if they did go to this school, like maybe they had a bad experience, and so they decided to get some catharsis and put in the story. But you obviously had a very different perspective on the school system in Morehead.
Yeah, it's so this modest outpost of coastal intellectualism. Now, I don't know if he's obviously it's a them versus us kind of mentality kind of thing going on here. And man, look, I see it. I've seen it all my life. There's this is Morehead's a blue dot, a blip in a sea of red for like American politics, and it's other cities and whatnot. And there is a bit of a divide between, the university, and the area. Which, I mean, maybe I'm an outlier for that kind of stuff there. I did not. There are, professors that have, ended up there. But I never once was I really in my course load. And not saying that I had the most comprehensive Morehead experience with that, but I never felt like I was talked down. This is its bread and butter. The university was originally started as a school for educators more than anything. That used to be their main export from that college was
Oh, it was
like
teachers.
Yeah, and they've got a decent business and department, and I mean, just several different good things going on here. But this guy, I feel like this is more, and this is where I'm possibly reading into it. I think this is the author, but also 5 years ago, it was 2020, and everything in America has been kind of batshit crazy since 2016. So, like in the wake of like COVID and lockdowns and science versus rugged American individualism and stuff like that, I feel like this is where that kind of stuff is kind of bubbling out. Again, I don't feel that the university spit on me for my heritage. The worst that I was ever told that I immediately didn't pay attention to because the professor was from Columbus, Ohio, was as a teacher, you need to drop the accent. And I disagree with that because the kids that I talk to, some of them have my accent, and I'm not going to tell them. They can say tar instead of tire, or oil instead of oil, and stuff like that. So he just has a different outlook than I do on this kind of stuff here.
Yeah, and it might not even be like they had a bad experience with the school. It might just be like, again, like kind of like what you were saying, and what we've kind of talked about this a few times, of just like how people perceive the country, like the more rural like living in versus like the cosmopolitan living or the metropolitan living. Like again, like you've been like you said, you've been kind of called out a couple of times for your accent and stereotyped as a result. So like maybe that's something that like this author is also kind of maybe venting and maybe just using the school part of this town as an excuse for that, or as a place to vent that.
I feel like it's a byproduct of public education in general. This is my soapbox, Jeremy. Welcome to it for 5 seconds here.
Welcome to your TED Talk. I'm fine.
My TED Talk. In general, I think public education in America, we push college because that's what you need to do and all that, but we don't really focus enough on what you're going to do once you get there. You just know the next step is college and you're hoping you're going to figure it out. And then a lot of kids, this is me as a high school teacher, go to college and they strike out because that's where you're supposed to go, right? But no one ever really helped them explore those options. Now, he mentioned going to like a vocational school, which fun fact, Chris, I'm sure you know this, but I'm a dual credit high school instructor, and I'm paired with the vocational school that he is probably referencing there, which would have been part of BCTC, which is Bluegrass College of Technical, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, I think he has a legitimate, if his grievances are about being ill prepared, going because you're supposed to, going into a crazy amount of debt for something that he's not going to use, and then going out and focusing on a vocational career, and that did well for them, then I mean, I can kind of see it. Like I said in the beginning of this thing, the dude sounds like it. He sounds like he's writing like an English major. And you know, if you're the author listening to this, I'm not trying to like really start a fight with you or anything. But I'll meet you at the Huddle House in Morehead if you want to. But it's like Waffle House Junior. But you know, I feel like this is kind of where all that may be stemming from.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely it could be like some projection. We just don't know. Like it's just we're also just speculating at this point. But yeah.
But I didn't let that detract from my enjoyment of the story.
That's good.
No, who wants to follow that rant up?
Yeah. Well, I'm done my actual thoughts, so it's up to you guys now. Anything else you guys have to say?
I thought it was pretty good. There were some issues, obviously. Like I started reading about Joseph, and I really didn't have a reason to give a fuck about Joseph. I mean,
good point.
They basically like got a friend named Joseph. Okay, we used to go out smoking and drinking in the woods. Neat.
I don't like.
Of the way through, it was like, why am I here? Oh, to help you move. What?
Yeah, I think honestly, like I really related to that. like that whole angle because like of like in helping your friend like move and like trying to get out of that situation, like of a situation that like he got out of a few years earlier, and then like yeah, like again helping your buddy and then having this weird dire situation happen and this like very confusing situation happened, and then your friend seemingly betrays you, maybe not intentionally, but like is not your friend suddenly, and or like you suddenly realize something's off. I kind of really like I could definitely relate to that in a certain way.
It
I
is
can
rough when you
relate to it,
figure
but I
out
just
he's
wish
not
they
your
would
buddy
have.
guy.
Yeah, I
I'm
wish
sorry.
that. Oh, you're good. As I can relate to that, but I wish that they would have put that more towards the beginning. Like, hey, I'm going to visit my buddy Joseph. I'm going to help him move. Blah blah. Like, actually give me some reason to care about this guy that randomly shows up, and now he's like, this is a trap. But well, gotta go see my buddy Joseph.
Yeah.
Like,
We don't. It's not until he gets into the town itself that we find out that like he's there for his friend.
yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
They focus too much on like
flashback.
the description of the town or of the of traveling through the past to get into the town.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, oh, this is a trap. I know it's a trap. And then it's like all of a sudden my buddy's on there and it's like, well, gotta get out of the car and talk to my friend. Like, tell me why. Tell me why I should care. Like,
That's a good point. There's more foundational work, and it could have been done with a flashback, or if he wanted to make it seem more real, maybe Joseph is. I mean, opioids were the huge problem through this region anyway, and it could be Joseph's got out of rehab and he's you're picking him up. He's moving away, getting away from negative influences and stuff like that. It could have been any number of reasons.
Yeah, it could have even been that like maybe through his through Nair's tough times here, and like Joseph was sort of like one of his anchors. So like and he kind of felt guilty about leaving Joseph, like one of his few anchor points here when he went off to do the trade somewhere else away from Morehead, away from like this place that he obviously had some kind of trauma toward. And then so like you could definitely add that extra element to like kind of again make him more even more like sympathetic and like kind of want to find Joe because he's like he's the only good thing like that's left for him in Morehead kind of thing.
It's just like a hillbilly rise and fall of the House of Usher. If you're familiar with that,
Unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with that poem. I'm aware of it, but I have never read it.
Oh, okay.
Break it down. Why you think that, Adam?
Well, the entire story. Well, let me use that English degree I got from Morehead.
Let me just
flex a little bit.
That, yeah.
The entire story is he went to visit go visit his friend, and at his family's estate, and it's foreboding just like that too. When he's riding in on I think he's going by horse or carriage. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I mean, there's some foreshadowing just like this. And then he gets into the house and he meets his friend and his friend's sister, which is kind of maybe an implied incestuous thing going on there. A little uncertain of that. There's some speculation of that, and just they're both deathly, sickly looking and things like that. And then everything kind of culminates at the end with him rushing out of the house, and in this instance, the house collapses on itself. So. It's not 100% word for word Rise and Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, but it's pretty. I mean, there's some similarities to it. I think.
I can definitely, like you describing that, I can definitely see some similar themes at the least in between your synopsis of that poem and the plot of this story.
And I mean, it's also kind of and with romanticism in general too. There's kind of that's where you get a lot of your horror movies, and that would be like American romanticism. But when you go out to nature, that's where nature is beautiful and stuff like that. But nature is also dangerous.
Yeah, that's the duality of the outdoors. Again, my long-standing quote: "The woods be scary, yo." Like they're beautiful, but they're also really scary.
Yeah, but I honestly don't know if I have anything else to say about it. I wish that I'm honored and tickled that either a local or someone who's had a local experience I want to thank the man. It's probably a local. If Joseph is any indication, I'm glad that he wrote about our home.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, do you have anything more to say on the story?
No, not really. I think that was kind of my biggest beef was just like let me care about a character and tell me why that you're actually concerned for them as opposed to just there's a person there.
Yeah, because like right now it's sort of I can kind of see it now. Like it's more like just really this he's just the catalyst for you to go back to this place that you don't like, and you find it in a very abnormal and dire situation that you have to escape from. Like he's really just there to get you there. Like he's the lure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I suppose we'll move on to the final thoughts. So yeah, I'm still going to recommend this. I honestly really loved it. It was very well described, both the setting and the encounters, the mood of the situation. It was for me, it was really gripping, and like I really dug the elements of like this dreary, gloomy, again Silent Hill-esque version of Morehead. And then when like the thing begins bellowing off the hill and like those things come out of the woods, I was just like very Lovecrafty and very eldritch. I could see this easily being inspiration for me for a horror game in a half dozen different tabletop RPGs. When I started after I finished reading this, I was like, Adam, I was wondering if like Adam may have had like a difference of opinion for this next part that I have, but like even though Morehead is a real place and described fairly accurate, the spookiness aside, because Morehead is not this spooky.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very like otherwise the story really depicts almost like a photographic story of the location. I don't really have a problem with this fictionalized version of the town, and even like what happens after, like what transpires upon the town and stuff like that. To this character, like I've had in other stories about real locations and real events, where I kind of feel a little skeevy about like reading a story about like a real event, like a tragedy, or like that the story tries to like kind of make into a creepypasta. It doesn't really seem like this one. I think it's because this story kind of handles it in a way that it is not mocking or belittling the town or its people. Aside from the character's suggestion of the university's or professors' attitudes toward the town folk.
Mm-hmm.
That aside, that aside, it like you described earlier, Adam, like right at the beginning of this episode, it almost feels like a love letter to Morehead in a creepypasta format. But yeah, I'm not really too thrown off by like the fact that it is a real place. A place I've visited, which was, I guess the algorithm was listening when it popped up on my Reddit app, which is always scary, but it's the life and times we live in. But yeah, I like after reading it is like I really enjoyed it, like taking it for what it was, and I could easily see drawing inspiration for it for something like in one of our game spaces. So yeah, that's what I've got for the story for the final thoughts. Adam?
I mean, at the end of the day, I like it. It feels like home. It's even the negative stuff that I talked about. I almost want to call it like an a tendency in rural areas to kind of, I don't want to say anti-intellectualism per se like that, but there is definitely, and it's without merit by his opinion that, that we're kind of the kicking, we're kicked quite often by pop culture and or just culture in general. There's been a whole movement back when the railroads and expansion into Appalachia and stuff like that of making us seem like it's the same thing that they did for that anyone does of any group that they're going to exploit and stuff like that, be it the Native Americans. So the plight is totally different. I'm not wanting to say that what the hillbillies in Appalachia experience was on par with like the Trail of Tears or anything like that, because that would be just monstrous to claim that. But there's a dehumanizing element that happens in those kind of instances where, these people to have all these riches here, and they're just going to trade it away for beads, or they have all this timber and coal here, and they're just going to sit on it. They don't know how to use it, so it's up to us. There's definitely that kind of vibe has always been felt by those of us around here, whether they put a word on it or not. I can remember watching Clueless, the old film with Alicia Silverstone, and I swear to God, he's a vampire, or he has a painting of himself. It gets old Paul Rudd instead of himself. That she talked about, like, made a joke about getting married and being pregnant. She said something like, "Well, this ain't Kentucky," or something like that. So that's kind of what the baggage that I carry with me. And he did not depict us as barefoot, toothless, and pregnant, running around and stuff like that. There was very little people here, and his love for the region came through. It's good. He could go a little lighter on his usage of commas, probably, and some of the description it helps him as much as it hurts him in instances. But I wish I could read more of this author's work on that region. So yeah, I recommend it.
All right, Jeremy,
and the other guy,
the other folksy folk.
That's right.
Sorry,
the other slightly redneck fella. I enjoyed it. I think he was a little long in the tooth as far as descriptions goes, a la like we were talking about with Lovecraft and Tolkien and stuff like that. But at the same time, I really enjoyed it. It was a quick read. I don't know. I don't have as long-winded explanation, but at the same time, I thought it was fun. I thought I'd recommend it. I read it in about 10 minutes. It was it got me there, and I enjoyed it.
All right. So yeah, I guess that'll be 3 recommendations across the board, and that'll do it for this week's episode. That's, if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. I'm on Blue Sky at Review Cultist. Adam, Jeremy, where can people find you?
Well, I tell you, with RPX, you can find us at critnight.com with other great podcasts like Al Dente Rigor Mortis and One Last Die. We've got our own little podcasting network here. It's just at least in my way, it just seems like it's just an excuse for friends to get together and have a good time. And you can reach me. I still have the Twitter account because I can't help but look into the void.
I've abandoned X. You enter.
You're probably better off, but like I just want to look into a hole and get depressed sometimes. I'll log into it, but you can find us at we're on Twitter and Blue Sky with RPX Exchange, and I think pretty much I got a Facebook, but I'm probably going to shut it down because it's just it's too much.
Yeah.
And both of us are on Patreon. If you would like to give either of us money, it helps both of us. Or give both of us money, and it really help both of us.
That's right. Yep. You can find me on Role Playing Exchange, One Less Die, Al Dente Rigor Mortis every once in a while. Occasionally I'll pop up on other things. Just listen to the guy that doesn't sound quite Southern. And that's probably me.
And you can also send emails to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. Al Dente has a Patreon, and you can check out, we have extra content, special episodes, early access to our patrons. Like Adam has said, thank you for helping support us. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and as always, very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these stories that you write and post online for people to enjoy or get spooked by, we really wouldn't have much of a show, because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I've been Adam.
And I've been Jeremy, also known as the other guy that no one remembers his name.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.
Pleasant dreams.
Bye, y'all.